Throughout Jujutsu history, he was known as the King of Curses, a human born over 1,000 years ago that became so feared, so infamous, that he was elevated to the level of deity to many of his time. Much of Ryomen Sukuna's past is clouded in mystery, yet every moment he emerges in the series, he steals the show with his chilling violence and pure chaotic nature. Today, we'll be covering the entire life of Sukuna, from his early days in the Heian era to his final moments in the manga, and it all begins right now. Over 1,000 years ago, Ryomen Sukuna was born into hunger and desperation. Still in the womb, he devoured his own twin just to survive. That cannibalistic act marked the beginning of one of the most terrifying figures in Jujutsu history. Even as a child, Sukuna was seen as a monster, shunned and feared. The rejection fueled a deep resentment that shaped him into a force of vengeance. As he grew, Sukuna became a sorcerer, not the kind that protected people, but the kind who slaughtered his peers. During the golden age of Jujutsu, he carved his name into the legend by killing countless sorcerers. His name inspired terror. His powers were unmatched. In the wilderness, Sukuna crossed paths with a strange child named Ryomen, who had accidentally frozen his own parents to death. Sukuna, rather than showing pity, saw potential. He brought Ryomen into his ruined ice home. He ordered Ryomen to use his cursed technique to refrigerate meat. Ryomen's skill with food quickly impressed Sukuna, especially after learning the child had self-taught the techniques of curing and chilling meat. Sukuna asked if Ryomen could cook human flesh, calling it a delicacy. That macabre bond turned into a lasting alliance. During the Heian period, Sukuna's carnage had reached its peak. He single-handedly wiped out elite forces like the 5 empty generals, the Sun, Moon, and Star Squad, and others with his devastating techniques, Hiten and Kamutoke. His strength was so terrifying that the capital honored him like a deity at the Harvest Festival, but when a woman named Rozu tried to comfort his suppressed loneliness, Sukuna slashed her without hesitation, driven not by sadness, but disgust. Before his death, Sukuna entrusted Kenjaku with preserving his soul. The solution is to split it into 20 fingers, each a cursed object of growing power. Though they were bound by rules to prevent destruction, Sukuna's fingers defied logic. They only got stronger with time, eventually becoming special-grade cursed objects. Even in death, Sukuna refused to fade. In the modern day, one of Sukuna's fingers winds up at Sugisawa High School. A high school student named Yuji Itadori unknowingly comes into contact with it through his occult club. Jujutsu sorcerer Megumi Fushiguro tracks the finger down but arrives too late. Yuji's friends are already being attacked by curses drawn to the finger's energy. Yuji, determined to save them, joins the fight, but physical strength alone isn't enough against curses. With no curse energy of his own, he makes a reckless, irreversible decision. He eats the finger.
Don't do it! That's a special grade cursed object. It's a deadly poison. He'll die for sure. But there is a chance. A 1 in a million chance.
That moment marks the rebirth of Sukuna. The ancient curse is incarnated through Yuji's body, granting him immediate and terrifying power. Sukuna kills a powerful curse with ease, laughing at the weakness of modern sorcerers. However, what shocks even the strongest among them is that Yuji remains conscious. He suppresses Sukuna's will, something thought impossible.
I knew it! The light feels best in the flesh!
This act stuns Satoru Gojo, the most powerful modern sorcerer who realizes the balance of the world has shifted. Sukuna isn't fully back yet, but he's no longer a distant threat.
Huh? Satoru Gojo? What are you doing here?
Hey, I got an earful from the higher-ups because the special grade cursed object's still missing. Thought I'd do a little sightseeing and stop by. So, did you find it yet?
Sorry, but I ate that thing.
Really?
I did.
To test Yuji, Gojo lets Sukuna take over for 10 seconds, and handles the King of Curses like it's a warm-up drill. Despite Sukuna's ruthless assault, Gojo effortlessly dodges, mocks, and beats him down, showing that even ancient evils can be humbled. Sukuna, as cocky as ever, admits sorcerers are troublesome and tries to escalate, but it's a losing battle.
Since my student's watching, I think I'll show off a little. Yeah.
You jujutsu sorcerers are always such a pain in the ass in any era! No, time doesn't really have much meaning for me.
And that should do it.
Why can't I seem to take over this body?
Yuji retakes control, cementing his place as a rare anomaly, a human who can contain Sukuna. Recognizing the potential, Gojo negotiates with the Jujutsu elders to delay Yuji's execution. The deal is to let Yuji absorb all 20 fingers and wipe Sukuna's existence in one go. It's a gamble, one that could either destroy the King of Curses forever or unleash him in full form. Even Principal Yaga, during Yuji's intense entry exam, acknowledges that only Yuji has the chance to stop Sukuna. When Yuji finally declares his purpose to eliminate Sukuna so he can live without regrets, he's admitted into Jujutsu Tech. 3 first-year sorcerers, Yuji, Megumi, and Obara, entered a detention center to investigate a cursed womb. Inside, they were ambushed by a special-grade cursed spirit, a monster that could have only been born from Sukuna's severed finger. Yuji tried to fight, but was overwhelmed, losing his hand and weapon in the blink of an eye.
Ita, Dori.
When things spiraled out of control and his friends were in danger, Yuji made a desperate call. He gave Sukuna the wheel.
Incredible. What a pain this brat is.
Now in control of Yuji's body, Sukuna wasn't interested in teamwork. The special grade spirit tried to fight him, and Sukuna didn't just win, he dismantled it, effortlessly. With his trademark cruelty, he taunted the curse, regenerated Yuji's missing hand like it was nothing, and unleashed his domain expansion, Malevolent Shrine. In seconds, the curse was shredded to pieces, its arrogant existence erased. But Sukuna didn't stop there. With the threat eliminated, Sukuna should have handed control back to Yuji, but he didn't. Instead, he smiled, eerily calm and malicious. Yuji was silent, likely unconscious, and Sukuna realized he had complete, uninterrupted control.
Well, well.
Sukuna rips out Yuji's heart, making any switch back to Yuji a guaranteed death sentence. Why? Simply because Yuji used Sukuna's power without forming a binding pact. Sukuna's twisted solution: take full control. After securing his grip on Yuji's body, Sukuna swallows another one of his cursed fingers, amplifying his strength even further.
It's simple. See, I can live without this. Switching out with me means he dies. Oh, and also, for good measure.
Then he turns his attention to Megumi Fushiguro, not out of strategy or revenge, but for no real reason at all. Megumi, recognizing the irony of their reversed roles, stands his ground, knowing full well he's facing a monster. Sukuna mocks Yuji, calling him a coward who is trembling in the face of death. Megumi ignores the taunt and quickly realizes Sukuna can use reverse curse technique, meaning he can regenerate even without a heart. His only shot is to force Sukuna into healing, so he fights summoning new and Orochi. Megumi tries to outmaneuver Sukuna with a combination of aerial strikes and domain manipulation. It doesn't work. Sukuna dismantles Megumi's Shikigami with ease, using nothing but raw power and sheer agility. He throws Megumi around like a ragdoll, clearly enjoying the upper hand. But despite the one-sided battle, Sukuna seems intrigued. He pauses, asking Megumi why he would run from the cursed womb instead of unleashing his true potential. Megumi, meanwhile, is driven by something deeper, his belief that the world is unfair and that true justice doesn't exist. He doesn't want to be a hero. He saves people based on his own conviction, not ideology. That's why he saved Yuji in the first place. Eventually, Yuji regains control just long enough to share a final moment with Megumi. He smiles, accepting his fate, and collapses from the fatal wound Sukuna left behind.
In all this time, I've never once regretted saving you.
Right. You're really a pretty smart guy, Fushiguro. I know you've put a lot of thought into this. I think your conviction is a good one. But I don't think mine is exactly wrong either. Sorry. I guess I'm done for. At least I won't be here worrying about you anymore. I hope you live a long life.
Yuji, believed to be dead, faces him head on. Sukuna mocks him for daring to look up without permission, but Yuji isn't playing along. He demands Sukuna come down so he can look down on him for once.
Don't poke around inside me. Not without my permission. I hate that punk ass.
Then you come down here, and I'll tear you open.
Sukuna, amused but annoyed, offers a deal. He'll repair Yuji's heart if given 2 conditions. He gets 1 minute of control after using a key phrase, and Yuji forgets this conversation entirely. Yuji refuses outright. He doesn't trust the curse who ruined his life. Sukuna assures him he won't harm anyone in that minute, but Yuji's not buying it. Sukuna reveals an important truth. They're not dead. This is a suspended state inside his domain, not the afterlife. And because Yuji tried to borrow his power without a proper binding vow, Sukuna was free to retaliate. Still unwilling to surrender, Yuji challenges Sukuna to a fight to the death. The outcome is brutal. Sukuna bisects Yuji's head with zero hesitation.
Well, how about this then? We'll fight to the death and I'll do it without conditions if you defeat me. But if I win, then you live only under my 2 conditions.
Yeah, I'll kick your ass for...
Outside, Gojo Satoru vents about losing Yuji. He's frustrated, especially because Yuji had potential. Gojo resolves to train stronger allies like Akatsu and Hikari, determined to rebuild the broken Jujutsu world. But the twist is Yuji isn't dead for long. Just as Shoko prepares to dissect his body, he springs back to life. Gojo grins, high-fives him, and quietly keeps his resurrection off the record to protect him. Meanwhile, villains like Jogo and Geto are plotting. They consider using the prison realm, a cursed object capable of sealing even Gojo. As they burn down a diner, their ambitions grow darker. While Yuji Itadori rushes to Sakura High School against orders, things spiral fast. Junpei, manipulated by the cursed spirit Mahito, attacks his classmates using moondregs, a jellyfish-shaped shikigami armed with poison. Yuji tries to talk Junpei down, insisting people have hearts, but Junpei, traumatized by his mother's death, believes otherwise. Just as Yuji starts breaking through, Mahito appears. Mahito immobilizes Yuji and transfigures Junpei into a grotesque monster. Desperate to save his friend, Yuji begs Sukuna for help. Sukuna flat out refuses. Not out of apathy, but because he doesn't care. Junpei dies and Mahito laughs, and Yuji snaps. What follows is an all-out brawl. Yuji attacks Mahito in blind rage. Mahito, fascinated, tries touching Yuji's soul to force a binding vow with Sukuna. Bad move. The second Mahito makes contact with Yuji's soul, Sukuna appears inside the boy's body. He doesn't lift a finger, but he makes it clear. Touch me again, and I'll kill you.
Don't forget your place. Foolish puppet.
Mahito is shaken. This wasn't a negotiation, it was a warning. Sukuna's not a tool. He's a demon king playing by his own rules. The fight rages on until Nanami arrives to back Yuji up. He immediately notes something strange. Mahito is bleeding. Turns out, Yuji's punches works because Mahito can alter the soul of a vessel like Yuji without messing with Sukuna himself. And Sukuna doesn't like being touched. What this shows is critical. Sukuna is more than a threat. He's an apex predator, watching from inside Yuji, waiting, not to protect, not to guide, but to pounce the second it benefits him. And if Mahito, a curse born from human hatred, fears Sukuna, that tells you everything you need to know. Sukuna isn't just strong, he's inevitable. During the fierce clash between Mahito and the sorcerers Kento Nanami and Yuji, Sukuna wasn't directly involved, but his shadow loomed large. As Mahito unleashed his domain expansion, self-embodiment of perfection, and dragged Nanami inside for a guaranteed kill, Yuji was left outside. But then came a moment that made everyone remember why Sukuna is feared even among curses. When Yuji broke into the domain to save Nanami, Mahito's soul brushed Sukuna's. Big mistake. In an instant, Sukuna sliced Mahito apart, making good on a past warning. there won't be a second time. Sukuna doesn't tolerate disrespect, and touching his soul is the ultimate violation. The fact that Mahito, a special grade curse himself, was helpless before Sukuna speaks volumes.
There'd be no second time.
There is no one in this world more proud and conceited. He lives guided by only his own pleasure and displeasure.
Whether you die, or you die, doesn't matter to me, aside from him. I truly don't care.
Mahito, though heavily injured, escaped into the sewers, shaken by Sukuna's overwhelming presence. Despite being a curse himself, Mahito admitted the truth. Sukuna's cursed energy might not be the highest, but his very existence screams domination. Mahito recognized it. Once Sukuna is fully resurrected, it will be the golden age of curses. On October 31st at 7 p.m., a massive Jujutsu barrier traps the civilians in Shibuya, while allowing sorcerers to move freely. Civilians are forced to chant Satoru Gojo's name, part of a trap set by Kenjaku. Suspecting the disaster curses, Jujutsu HQ sends Gojo alone, with 4 Grade 1 led teams on standby. Gojo arrives, anticipating an ambush, while Yuji and Meimei rescue civilians. Mahito escapes with a train of mutated humans as Gojo battles the special grade cursed spirits, Jogo, Hanami, and half-human half-cursed spirit, Choso. Mahito intensifies the chaos with more civilians, forcing Gojo to use domain expansion for 0.2 seconds, killing over 1,000. Kenjaku then uses Geto's body to emotionally destabilize Gojo and seals him.
Gate close.
Mekamaru alerts sorcerers of Gojo's fate, sparking a massive response. Yuji, Megumi, and Ino fight to break the barrier, while Toji and Nanami join the fray to aid in Gojo's rescue. With sorcerers now mobilizing in full force, Geto asks his allies how they want to respond. Choso is set on avenging his brothers and wants to kill Yuji, but Jogo refuses to allow it. Mahito also expresses his desire to kill Yuji, which enrages Jogo. Refusing to fight Jogo over it, Mahito calmly explains his reasoning and proposes a compromise. A game. If either Mahito or Choso finds Yuji first, they get to kill him. But if Jogo finds him first, he'll feed Yuji the collected Sukuna fingers and force a transformation.
Killing Yuji Itadori and Nobara Kukisaki. Then I'll make my way to Jujutsu High and release the rest of my brothers from their captivity.
I don't care about Kugisaki, but we're turning Itadori into Sukuna.
Not my problem.
Yuji and Choso engage in a brutal back-and-forth fight, with Choso using blood-based tricks and Yuji landing strong counters. Despite Yuji's clever feint with his injured arm, Choso outsmarts him, severely injures his shoulder, and ends the fight with a devastating blow. As Yuji lies unconscious, Sukuna watches in disgust, calling him worthless for losing to Choso.
How worthless. To think that you'd lose to such an inferior opponent.
After sensing Sukuna, Choso's memory is flooded. He gets scared and walks away. Meanwhile, Geto's allies, Nanako Hasaba and Mimiko Hasaba, find Yuji's unconscious body in the aftermath of his fight with Choso and force-feed him one of Sukuna's fingers, hoping to bring out Sukuna. Jogo finds them soon after and demands to know how many fingers they fed him. The moment finally arrives when Jogo, a cursed spirit, fed Yuji 10 fingers at once, enough to push Sukuna into full control.
I fed him all 10 fingers, which means by now there should be at least 15 inside Yuji Itadori.
Once awakened, Sukuna wastes no time. Within seconds, he severed Jogo's arm before he even realized what happened. His cursed energy was so terrifying that even seasoned sorcerers and cursed spirits trembled. His presence didn't feel like Gojo's, a symbol of protection, but rather pure oppressive malice. Standing in front of Sukuna felt like standing before death itself.
Do not waste my time any longer!
I'll give you 1 second. Move.
He casually mutilated those who failed to bow properly and demanded instant obedience. For the Asaba sisters and Jogo, even breathing felt risky. And this was only a fraction of his strength. Sukuna tells Jogo that he's next and casually asks what he wants, but Jogo says he doesn't want anything, which catches Sukuna off guard. Jogo then explains his true goal, to fully bring Sukuna back. He begs Sukuna to make a binding vow that will allow him to permanently take over Yuji's body. Sukuna turns him down, revealing that he already has his own plans, leaving Jogo stunned. Finding Jogo's desperation amusing, Sukuna decides to offer something in return for the 10 fingers he was fed. He gives Jogo a challenge. If Jogo can land even one hit on him, Sukuna will cooperate with their group, for now, and kill everyone in Shibuya except one person. Jogo accepts the deal without hesitation and readies himself for a high-stakes jujutsu fight.
All of you cursed spirits are so desperate. I will give you a reward as a token of appreciation for the fingers. If you manage to land even a single blow on me, I'll work under you for the time being. And to begin, how about I slaughter every human in Shibuya? With the exception of one.
By the time Sukuna fully enters the battlefield in the Shibuya arc, chaos had already swallowed the city whole. But things escalate rapidly once the King of Curses awakens. As Jogo falls from the sky, shaken and half defeated, Sukuna descends after him with a magical grin. And that smile, it signals one thing: carnage.
I knew he was stronger. But not to such a great extent.
Sukuna erupts into Shibuya. His curse energy is so immense that both sorcerers and curses sense it instantly. Even those far from him, like Megumi, Fushiguro, and Toji, briefly pause their fight, acknowledging the terrifying presence of something far worse than anything they've ever faced. Sukuna explodes into action against Jogo. To Sukuna, Jogo is merely warm-up material. Jogo puts up a valiant fight, flame attacks, ember insects, rapid fire bursts, but none of it matters. Sukuna slices through Jogo's arm mid-air with laughable ease and sends him crashing through buildings, using nothing but a giant piece of rubble. He toys with his opponent, dodging fire inside buildings with acrobatic grace and minimal effort. Allies, enemies, humans, curses, it doesn't matter. Sukuna stands at the top, a god among monsters. The battlefield bends to his will, not the other way around. And he's only just getting started.
Master Sukuna.
Ryomen!
It's been a long time, hasn't it?
The real turning point came when Megumi Fushiguro, critically wounded, decided to summon a forbidden Shikigami, Mahoraga, the 8-handed, sword-divergent Scylla Divine General, a creature so powerful that no 10 Shadows users had ever tamed it. Megumi forced Shigamo into the exorcism ritual, dragging the cursed user with him in a desperate suicide move.
He started that subjugation ritual, and he's forcing me to participate in that damn thing with him. He tricked me. 8-grip sword. Divergent Scylla Divine General. Mahoraga.
This reckless act caught Sukuna's attention. From afar, Sukuna sensed Megumi's cursed energy and made a calculated choice. He healed Megumi using the rare reverse curse technique. Not out of kindness, Megumi was essential to Sukuna's future plans.
Don't die yet. There are things I need you to do for me before that. For Megumi Fushiguro to survive, I'll have to defeat the Shikigami as an outsider and nullify his subjugation ritual.
Then began the showdown. Sukuna versus Mahoraga. Mahoraga's sword of extermination, radiating positive energy, could obliterate curses. It even posed a genuine threat to Sukuna, who quickly realized that if he had been a pure cursed spirit, that sword would have ended him. Yet Sukuna wasn't just any cursed being. He retaliated with Dismantle, tearing into Mahoraga with raw slashing cursed energy. Buildings fell, glass shattered, and the sky seemed to split as the two titans clashed. Their fight was a spectacle of devastation. Mahoraga used brute force and adaptability, while Sukuna countered with skill, speed, and pure violence. Mahoraga punched Sukuna through buildings. Sukuna sliced through cars and body parts alike. At one point, Sukuna even caught Mahoraga's sword using a fanged mouth on his neck and shattered it like it was nothing. And still, Mahoraga adapted. As the battle went on, Sukuna finally resorted to his most terrifying ability, Domain Expansion, Malevolent Shrine.
Domain expansion. Malevolent Shrine.
Sukuna's domain. Malevolent Shrine. Unlike other domains, it does not cut out a separate space with a barrier. It's like trying to paint a picture in the air without a canvas. Manifesting an innate domain without sealing it in a barrier. It is a truly divine feat.
Unlike most domains, Malevolent Shrine didn't create a barrier. Instead, it expanded naturally into the air, painting death across Shibuya with an area of 140 meters. Everything inside that radius, civilians, buildings, curses, was obliterated, yet Mahoraga endured. But Sukuna had one last move. Realizing Mahoraga had adapted to his slashes, Sukuna used the flaming arrow technique previously seen when he destroyed Jogo. The blast left behind a towering inferno. Mahoraga was no more, the ritual was complete, and the destruction is unthinkable.
Open.
Shigamo, who had survived thanks to Sukuna earlier, tried to escape. Sukuna let him run, straight into the crater Malevolent Shrine left behind. The domain's lingering energy sliced him in half, a fitting end. And the time is over. Yuji is back.
You little brat, be sure to savor this feeling forever.
Then came the aftermath. Yuji, regaining control, saw what Sukuna had done. Thousands dead, entire city blocks erased. Yuji collapsed and vomited, overwhelmed by guilt. Sukuna made sure Yuji saw it all, coldly telling him to face what his body had done. It was a massacre orchestrated by the King of Curses. After killing Nobara and Nanami, Mahito tries everything to eliminate Yuji. When Mahito considers using his domain expansion to finish Todo and Yuji, he hesitates. Not because of Yuji, but because of Sukuna. Mahito knows if Yuji is caught inside the domain again, Sukuna will respond, and not mercifully. This fear alone forces Mahito to limit his technique to 0.2 seconds, just enough to avoid Sukuna's wrath. Later in the fight, Mahito touches Yuji's soul in a direct attempt to activate his power. This action immediately triggers Sukuna's domain, dragging Mahito into Sukuna's territory. Sukuna doesn't speak much, he just watches with a chilling smile. That silence says everything. Mahito is powerless here. He tries to taunt Sukuna, claiming he'll kill Yuji before Sukuna can intervene. But the King of Curses doesn't take threats lightly.
So then, I assume I'm safe this time, Sukuna? Knowing you, you have some kind of backup plan with Itadori, right? I won't let you, though. I'll kill Itadori before you switch with him. So shut up and watch from here.
Though Sukuna doesn't directly kill Mahito, his earlier warning and overwhelming aura are what force Mahito into making rush and risky decisions. His evolution and desperate use of power all stem from avoiding Sukuna's wrath. Mahito's downfall begins the moment he disrespects the King of Curses. No matter how many black flashes he lands or forms he evolves into, the ceiling is set, and Sukuna is that ceiling. Megumi informs Yuji that Noritoshi Kamo, an evil sorcerer, has started a calling game for those with cursed energy in which his sister, Sumiki, is trapped. With the calling game now in motion, Yuji and Megumi Fushiguro aim to free Gojo by finding a sorcerer named Hana Kurusu. Her technique can supposedly undeal the seal on the prison realm. They locate her, but her partner Angel reveals the condition. They must first eliminate someone called the Disgraced One. In a private moment, Sukuna reveals to Yuji that he himself is the Disgraced One. This sets off a chain reaction of events. The mission becomes tangled with more complications when Master Tengen is compromised by Kenjaku, and Megumi shifts focus to saving his sister, Sumiki, from the Culling game. They earn enough points to exempt her, only to learn that Sumiki isn't really Sumiki. She's a reincarnated sorcerer named Yorozu. Yorozu quickly escapes to fight Sukuna, but before anyone can stop her, Sukuna activates the keyword Enchain. This triggers a forgotten binding vow with Yuji, giving Sukuna control over Yuji's body for 1 minute, with the catch that he cannot hurt anyone during that time. Sukuna uses the loophole. He pours his cursed energy into Yuji's pinky finger, creating a new cursed object. He rips it out, turning it into a replica of his own finger. He then forces Megumi to swallow it before the latter can summon Mahoraga. In doing so, Sukuna fully transfers his soul into Megumi's body, leaving Yuji completely. Sukuna waited until Megumi's spirit was broken, ensuring he'd be a vessel, not a cage. Once in Megumi's body, Sukuna knocks Yuji off a rooftop and sends him flying through several buildings. Maki and Takaba witness the destruction and rush to the scene. Sukuna summons a monstrous version of Nude to attack them with lightning. Then Hana launches a surprise attack from above, activating Jacob's Ladder, a powerful curse technique of Angel meant to purify Sukuna. The attack overwhelms Sukuna, draining his cursed energy and driving him out of Megumi's body momentarily. Desperate, Hana rushes to embrace Megumi, who has appeared to regain control. Ignoring Angel's warnings, Hana lets her guard down. Sukuna reveals his ruse by transforming his head into a monstrous shape and biting her arm off. He tosses her aside, mocking her sentimentality. Yuji, having regained consciousness, sees Hana fall and immediately returns to confront Sukuna. Their clash is fierce. Yuji hurls debris, smashes Sukuna with a metal sign, and displays remarkable strength. Sukuna retaliates by slashing Yuji across the shoulder, but Yuji presses on. Despite being riddled with shallow cuts, Yuji endures and delivers a solid punch to Sukuna's face. Sukuna realizes something's wrong. Megumi is resisting from within. His curse energy is significantly weakened, only about 10% of what it should be, but Sukuna remains confident. When Maki Zenin arrives, unaffected by Nu's attacks, she joins Yuji, and the two launch a coordinated assault. Sukuna fends them off with great effort. Maki launches a barrage of strikes and Yuji traps him with a railing, and Maki sends him crashing through a wall. As Sukuna stands back up, Maki questions whether he can regenerate from damage caused by the Spirit Soul Katana. Yuji affirms their intent to stop Sukuna no matter the cost. The tempo increases as the three fighters clash in the abandoned streets of Tokyo. Yuji fakes an opening, allowing Maki to grab and swing him into Sukuna. The blow lands and they unleash a series of rapid strikes. Sukuna deflects and parries, then uses Cleave Spiderweb to destroy the street and destabilize their footing. He lands a punch on Maki, but she shrugs it off. They continue trading blows until the battlefield stills. Ryomen suddenly enters, attacking with Ice Formation Frostcalm. A massive wave of cursed ice floods the area. Ryomen apologizes for interrupting, but Sukuna doesn't mind. The ice attack is focused more on Maki, avoiding freezing Yuji too deeply. Sukuna confirms Yuji is irrelevant now and summons Nu to escape. He instructs Ryomen to prepare the bath, a dark ritual needed to completely merge with Megumi's soul. As they ascend, Yuji breaks through the ice in a desperate attempt to stop them. Ryomen asks if Sujino wants Yuji killed. Sukuna declines. Instead, he mocks Yuji's horrified expression as Nu carries them away. After completing the bath ritual, Sukuna asks Kogane for Sumiki Fushiguro's location. Upon learning that she is in the Sadai colony, Sukuna sets his next course. Kenjaku speculates that Yorozu, who now inhabits Sumiki, returned to a native Aizu before heading to the nearest colony. Sukuna makes it clear he doesn't care about Yorozu, only the vessel. He wants to kill Sumiki to crush the last remnants of Megumi's willpower. Kenjaku facilitates Sukuna's travel to Sendai using a fish-shaped cursed spirit. On arrival, two high-level sorcerers, Ryu Ishigori and Takako Uro, immediately detect the overwhelming cursed energy. Uro recognizes it as Sukuna's. Ryu prepares to confront the King of Curses directly. Meanwhile, Satoru Gojo is back. After reclaiming his full strength by consuming all of his remaining fingers and integrating his real mummified Heian era body, Sukuna took a moment to reflect on the irony of the situation, directly addressing Tengen. Then, Sukuna spoke with Ryomen about Yuji Itadori's unusual soul. Sukuna disclosed a critical truth. Yuji was not only the son of Kenjaku, but also the grandson of Sukuna's other half. From birth, Yuji carried one of Sukuna's fingers sealed within him, a detail that explained the deep connection between their souls. Soon after, Sukuna confronted his ultimate challenge, a battle with Satoru Gojo. The battle between Satoru Gojo and Ryomen Sukuna exploded into action with Gojo launching a devastating 200% hollow purple. Sukuna, caught off guard, lost both arms in the blast, while Ryomen was flung aside. As Sukuna regenerated, the two titans squared off. Gojo, the strongest of the modern age, versus Sukuna, the ancient king of curses. Sukuna mocked Gojo's sneak attack, calling him arrogant and insignificant. Gojo retaliated by mocking Sukuna for hiding behind Megumi's face. The real fight began: close quarters combat, sharp exchanges, and constant pressure. Sukuna used domain amplification to bypass Gojo's infinity, while Gojo blasted him with blue, hurling him into buildings. The fight escalated with collapsing bridges, rooftop ambushes, and skyscrapers crashing down mid-clash. Mei streamed it all. Then came the domain expansions: Unlimited Void versus Malevolent Shrine. Gojo's domain collapsed under outside slashes. Sukuna landed a critical hit to Gojo's neck, but Gojo healed instantly. Sukuna's non-stop slashes tested Gojo's limits. As their domains evolved, condensed, reshaped, and reactivated, the clash pushed both of the fighters to the brink. Sukuna combined domain amplification and expansion, slicing through Gojo repeatedly, but Gojo countered with Falling Blossom emotion and fired back with precision strikes. Sukuna chose not to attack the reverse barrier from inside. Instead, he relies on amplification, boosting curse energy at the cost of control. This restraint gives Gojo an early upper hand, especially during their 3 minutes domain clash where he lands devastating hits. But something's off. Sukuna still hasn't used Megumi's 10 Shadows technique or summoned Mahoraga. Then, the ominous spin of Mahoraga's wheels begin, and Gojo's nose starts to bleed. Trouble is coming. They launch simultaneous domain expansions. Gojo overwhelms Sukuna with rapid punches, even pulling him into and out of the Malevolent Shrine using blue. Their domains collapse again, but Gojo restores his first, landing Unlimited Void just long enough to punch through Sukuna's chest. Sukuna weakens, but Mahoraga appears. Gojo fires red, but Mahoraga destroys the domain with the Sword of Extermination. It turns out Megumi's soul bore the adaptation burden, shielding Mahoraga from Void's effect. Gojo prepares another domain, but his body fails him. Repeated reversals damage his brain. Bloody, he keeps fighting, landing hits while Mahoraga's wheel spins closer to adapting to infinity. In the chaos, Gojo nearly finishes Sukuna with a hidden red and black flash, but Mahoraga's adaptation completes. Gojo is restrained and slashed. Infinity is bypassed. Injured, Gojo still retaliates, but Sukuna escapes underground using rapid escape. He throws out a smokescreen, summons Max Elephant's water, and fires a piercing blood imitation. The tide turns as Sukuna summons Merge Beast Agito. Now it's 3-on-1. With Mahoraga adapting and Agito closing in, Gojo knows he's outmatched. His last hope? One final, perfect, unlimited hollow purple. The countdown has begun. Sukuna, severely injured with burns, a severed arm, and barely able to stand, survives Gojo's devastating hollow purple blast. Though Gojo is also wounded, having hit himself for the first time with his own technique, he suffers less due to his body's resistance to his cursed energy. Confident, Gojo begins healing and celebrates inventing a new move in the heat of battle. But Sukuna had been using Mahoraga's adaptation as a blueprint. Mahoraga's cursed energy has shifted to negate infinity, not by direct attack, but by altering its targeting. In the second adaptation, Mahoraga didn't aim for Gojo, but for the space itself. Sukuna copied this approach, expanding his dismantle technique to cut the world around Gojo rather than Gojo directly, bypassing infinity entirely. The result? A world-crushing slash that bisects Gojo in half, killing him. Sukuna wins the battle of the strongest. Back in the real world, Kenji Hikari's domain shatters, freeing both him and Ryomen. As they re-enter the battlefield, Yuji Itadori and Hiromi Higuruma descend from the sky to challenge Sukuna next. Sukuna scoffs at Yuji, unconvinced that the boy poses any real threat. Moments later, Mei crows swarm him, only to be annihilated instantly with Kamutoke. The distraction serves its purpose, as Higuruma slams his gavel onto the ground, signaling the start of a trial inside his domain expansion. Yuji launches an assault, and while most of his attacks are blocked, one enhanced punch briefly surprises Sukuna. As Higuruma's domain takes effect, Yuji proposes retrying his original trial, this time with Sukuna as co-defendant. Though risky, Higuruma explains that a retrial for an already judged crime is possible if it's requested within a specific domain structure and backed by solid evidence. The domain judgments accuses Yuji of the Shibuya massacre. Higuruma intervenes, explaining that Yuji's earlier confession was driven by guilt, not truth. The actual murderer, he argues, was Sukuna, acting autonomously even while inside Yuji. Judgment confirms that Sukuna's actions were well documented, and barring any mental incompetence at the time, Sukuna qualifies for a death sentence. Sukuna interrupts, stating that the trial was unnecessary. He already knew the rules of the domain when inside Yuji, and more importantly, he wanted to see the executioner's sword. Unfazed by the legal theater, Sukuna openly accepts judgment. The verdict? Confiscation and death penalty. Higuruma, Yuji, Choso, Takuma, and Kusakabe launch a coordinated attack on Sukuna. Though impressed by their growth, Sukuna increases the tempo. He impales Choso, knocks away Takuma, and slams Higuruma into debris. Yuji is written off again as boring, but Higuruma earns Sukuna's acknowledgement due to his curse amplification abilities. As the battle escalates, Sukuna tests Higuruma by slicing off both of his arms with Dismantle. Higuruma counters with reverse curse technique and strikes back with the executioner's sword. Sukuna reacts swiftly, cutting off another hand before the sword takes effect, and finishes Higuruma with a devastating blow. Before collapsing, Higuruma tosses the executioner's sword to Yuji, entrusting him with their final hope. Unfortunately, the sword loses its function due to Higuruma's incapacitation. Sukuna slashes Yuji again, then observes two sorcerers teleporting Higuruma away. He connects this with the earlier disappearance of Gojo's corpse and suspects that they're transporting bodies to Shokoyeri. However, Sukuna dismisses the threat. Shoko's healing abilities are still below his and Gojo's levels. Noticing that Yuji is healing himself, Sukuna concludes the boy has learned reverse curse technique in under a month. This revelation irritates him. Displeased and craving complete dominance, Sukuna chooses to activate Kenjaku's backup plan, to merge Tengen with humanity, fully destroying the sorcerer's ideals. But before that plan unfolds, Yuta, Okatsu, and Rika enter the battlefield. Yuta initiates battle using his domain, Authentic Mutual Love, forcing Sukuna to defend with Hollow Wicker Basket. Sukuna quickly deduces the domain's can't miss attack to be derived from Angel's technique. Realizing Yuta's role is to wear him down while Yuji aims to separate Megumi's soul, Sukuna finds their strategy amusing but dangerous. As the three continue to fight, Sukuna holds back from using his full arsenal, unable to access his domain or full reverse curse technique. Rika throws Yuji towards him, while Yuta uses Thin Icebreaker to launch Sukuna into rubble. Sukuna retaliates with violent slashes, kicking Rika and severing her fingers. He notices both Yuji and Yuta healing again, and their curse energy surging far beyond previous levels. Sukuna, curious, asks what they had done in the past month. Yuta claims he cheated, while Yuji credits sheer hard work. Yuta then meets the conditions for Ink and catches Sukuna off guard by using Cleave, his own signature technique. Shocked, Sukuna assumes Rika may have eaten his last finger. Yuji then unleashes a series of blows. Sukuna slashes his chest, but Yuji's blood hits Sukuna's face just before another wave of attacks begin. Yuta, Rika, and Yuji pile on the pressure, forcing Sukuna to drop Hollow Wicker Basket and prep for a world-cutting slash. But Yuta anticipates it. As Rika and Yuji restrain him, Yuta attempts to tear out Sukuna's second tongue, essential for activating powerful techniques. Sukuna slashes Yuta in return, but his attacks are weaker. Yuji's blood explodes again, and his fourth arm is cut, triggering the activation of Jacob's Ladder. Yuji assesses the spiritual boundary between Sukuna and Megumi, only to discover that Megumi has lost his will to live. In this moment, Sukuna unleashes another world-cutting slash, devastating Yuta, Rika, and severely wounding Yuji. Before Sukuna could finish them, Maki Zenin charges in, stabbing him with the Split Soul Katana, a weapon that bypasses cursed energy. Sukuna quickly realizes Maki is more than a threat. She doesn't just dodge his attacks, she reads them. He attempts another world-cutting slash, but Maki evades again. He compares her to Mahoraga, noting that she could adapt on the fly. Maki presses the advantage. Sukuna remarks she's using cursed energy to keep her heart beating and asks if she can maintain it. She doesn't flinch. The battle resumes with buildings, debris, even cars flying. Maki tanks through his slashes and launches Sukuna into structures using sheer physical might. She hurls columns at him, but Sukuna retaliates by grabbing her face and slicing part of it off. In awe of her heavenly restricted body, Sukuna begins philosophizing. He states that Maki's existence questions the very nature of jujutsu. Is it more valuable to perfect one's body or curse technique? He acknowledges her as the first person to make him want to prove something. He then strikes Maki with a black flash, sending her flying. Kusakabe intervenes next. Sukuna throws slashes and is surprised by the sorcerer's timing and reflexes. He then unleashes an unannounced slash, no hand signs, just as Kusakabe barely dodges. To test him further, Sukuna mocks him, warning the next strike will hit. Kusakabe expands his simple domain, chaining rapid attacks in hope of landing a decisive blow. During the skirmish, Kusakabe attempts to use Hazy Moon to pierce Sukuna's heart. Sukuna catches the blade and ends the fight with a brutal slash. Ui arrives to teleport Kusakabe, but Sukuna tries to kill him. At the last second, Miguel appears and rescues Ui. Sukuna is surprised. He doesn't recognize Miguel and quickly finds himself in a new battle. As Sukuna faces Miguel and LaRue, he notices that LaRue's technique isn't remarkable, but Miguel intrigues him. Though he launched multiple slashes, Miguel dodges them with ease. Then, to Sukuna's shock, the figure standing before him was none other than the modern era's strongest sorcerer, Satoru Gojo, the man he had already killed, but a closer look revealed the telltale stitch pattern on the head. It wasn't Gojo, it was Yuta Akatsu, who had taken control of Gojo's body. Following the collapse of Yuta and Sukuna's barriers, Sukuna took minimal damage. He quickly noticed Yuta wasn't experienced with controlling purple, and while watching Yuta, Todo, and Yuji confront him, he made his move. Seizing an opening as Todo was distracted by Yuta's collapse, Sukuna landed a black flash and broke part of Todo's Vibra Slap. Todo immediately swapped in Yuji, who landed a hit, triggering Sukuna's concern when shards of Yuta's barriers still lingered. Another swapped in allowed Yuji to hit Sukuna with Dismantle, forcing Sukuna to cough up his fingers. More critically, the attack targeted the fragile boundary between Megumi's soul and Sukuna's control, making him fear he'd lose his vessel if struck again. Shifting tactics, Sukuna tried to avoid Yuji's attacks, but Todo surprised him by swapping in Hana Kurusu from beyond standard range, thanks to a binding vow. Hana's hit Sukuna with her maximum output Jacob's Ladder. Though its output was weaker than before, Sukuna tried to escape upward using debris and planned to kill Hana and Angel. Todo intervened again, tanking a black flash to protect Hana, which impressed even Sukuna. Todo and Hana were left incapacitated, so Sukuna focused on Yuji again. Yuji countered with a strike that sent Sukuna crashing through a building. When Yuji tried using Dismantle, Sukuna regrew his arm and punched him away. Sukuna had regained Curse technique thanks to 2 earlier black flashes, healing his injuries. He beat down Yuji, waiting for his burnout to recover, but Yuji shocked Sukuna again. He initiated a domain expansion. Inside the domain, Sukuna found himself in a memory-crafted train station, appearing as his former self. Yuji greeted him and walked him through his childhood town, telling mundane stories, showing parks, flowers, even engaging Sukuna in a crayfish catching contest. Sukuna mocked Yuji, but begrudgingly played along. He noted some memories belonged to Megumi, not Yuji, as he hadn't bothered looking into Yuji's. As the domain shifted to winter scenes and archery matches, Sukuna questioned the purpose. Yuji responded with a personal reflection. He once believed life meant fulfilling a role, even dying for it. Now, he realized value exists in memory fragments, mundane moments that made life worth living. Yuji made it clear he hated Sukuna, not just for the destruction, but for treating humans' lives as disposable. Yuji admitted he brought Sukuna here out of pity, not to negotiate, but to give him one last look at the humanity he despised. He offered Sukuna a deal: release Megumi's soul, return to Yuji, and spare lives. Enraged, Sukuna vowed to kill Yuji and everyone he cared about. Sukuna activated Hollow Wicker Basket to nullify the domain's guaranteed hit. He fought back, trading blows with Yuji. Despite landing punches, Sukuna admitted that Yuji's pity angered him more than expected. But that anger awakened Megumi's soul, spurred on by Yuji's earlier words, and Megumi briefly held Sukuna in place using a shadow technique. Yuji capitalized, unleashing a flurry of attacks. Sukuna's reverse curse technique couldn't keep up. As Hollow Wicker Basket neared its limit, Sukuna used Shrine to destroy Yuji's gauntlet. But to his horror, the gauntlet had been hiding 2 missing fingers, one that Rika had supposedly eaten. Realizing Yuta had bluffed, Sukuna grew nervous. Elsewhere, at Jujutsu headquarters, where Sukuna's 20th finger resided, a newly awoken Nobara Kugasaki struck it with resonance after being caught up on the situation, binding Sukuna in place. Trapped, he couldn't activate his domain or defend against Yuji's attacks. A final dismantle hit him in the jaw, forcing him to cough up another finger. Though Yuji was at his limit, he landed a double blow with a time lag, then declared it was time to end the cycle of curses. Yuji landed a black flash directly into Sukuna's chest, making his eyes go blank. Feeling genuine fear of death, Sukuna made one last attempt to demoralize Megumi, but failed. Megumi regained his will, breaking free. With no vessel left, Sukuna began to disintegrate. Even as his form decayed, Sukuna refused Yuji's offer to return to him. Calling Yuji by his full name for the first and only time, he acknowledged his resolve, but remained defiant. As his final act, Sukuna rejected the offer, choosing to vanish as a curse to the end. Following his death, Sukuna's soul drifted into the passageway of circulation, where he encountered Mahito. Mahito suggested that Sukuna's violent nature masked a deeper desire for revenge against those who called him an abomination. Sukuna, unflinching, admitted it.